Yankee Baseball is brought to you in part by Budweiser. Fresh, pure, natural. Proud to be your Bud. Back in the harmonious broadcast booth, Al Trautwig along with Tony Kubek. Uh-oh, Tony, they were watching us. This is during the commercial break.
We should not discuss this because we have a philosophical, ideological, and even an economic differences as far as whom should be believed.
But see, your point is because I argue with you that I believe that the players should accept what the owners are saying, and that's not what I'm saying. So if we can end it like that, that would be fine. Yankees lead it 4-2. It's emotional for everyone. Mike Stanley's hitting .301 now.
It's pretty logical when you look at the health of the game. Even though emotions do enter in, but you can look at it in a logical fashion and say, hey, look, things are going great the way they are. Just look what's happening.
Gets away. You know, actually, when you think about it, sports in general is going through, you know, a general upheaval. It's not just baseball. It's hockey, and it's soon to be basketball, and it's tennis, and it's, I mean, go down the line. Outside, 2 balls and 2 strikes.
So did George tell you he doesn't want a revenue sharing?
We didn't talk about revenue sharing. He just said that there needs to be some sort of equity between the smaller and larger market teams. Some sort of equity. He also offered up a tremendous boost for the work of Bud Selig, saying he's the best leader he's seen in his 20 years in baseball. And that was about the extent of our conversation. 3 balls and 2 strikes to Mike Stanley. Big swing, and Mike Stanley's done. Pat Henkin, who's the second winningest pitcher over the last 2 seasons to Jimmy Key, gets Mike Stanley here swinging big time. That's the second strikeout for Henkin, and it'll bring up Bernie Williams. Henkin to the All-Star game for the 2nd straight time this year. Facing Bernie Williams, who grounded to short, hitting .290. Bernie cracks one to right center field. It's the 2nd out. Well, it's not Devon White out there, but nonetheless, Mike Huff makes the catch. And that'll bring up Mike Gallego.
Without Devo, though, in spite of Ken Lofton, the way he's come, the best defensive center fielder in baseball, it's not the same defense. I mean, he just roams almost foul line to foul line. And it may have shown up in that throw from Huff or Kelly's short fly ball by Boggs. You don't know what Devon White would have done with that same ball.
With Devon White maybe making the best catch of the year in baseball, lofting over the fence a couple of weeks ago. But there really have been some unbelievable defensive plays in the game this year.
We saw some nice ones by Brady Anderson in left field last night. I mean, not like Lofton's the other day or Brett Butler's earlier climbing the fence or some of White's.
1 ball and 1 strike to Mike Gallego.
In a way, Al, you can't beat, you know, among all the sensational catches that you mentioned, and they're really wonderful to look on the highlight film, the steadiness of the Yankees defense all year long. And they're very steady, and Mike Gallego's been a part of that. You know, he's been hurt off and on, and maybe not so shortstop, but he's been very steady there and making the double play. And
in the gap, but Mike Huff covers some ground to get there. He ran to the right, he ran to the left. And Donald Fear is not in negotiations with Richard Ravitch at the moment. He's in our booth, or will be, when we come back on MSG.
Every day, thousands of new customers are finding QVC a great way to shop. All you need is a TV and a phone.
Thank you for calling QVC. This is Kim.
QVC relies on AT&T 800 service to bring in as much as $70,000 per minute. Each dollar begins with a customer calling.
AT&T makes sure huge volumes of calls get through 24 hours a day. If agents are busy in Virginia, calls are routed to Texas or Pennsylvania. QVC always gives customers more than they expect. That's why AT&T works for me.
Come on, push yourself. Put your heart into it. Be tough.
I'm not going to pay a lot for this muffler.
More feeling.
I'm not going to pay a lot for this muffler.
Now that I'm in the monarchy corner, if anyone says you have to pay a lot to get high-quality muffler service, you know what to tell them. I am not going to pay a lot for this muffler. By George, I think he's got it.
Now more than ever, at Meineke, you're not going to pay a lot, but you'll get a lot.
I guarantee it.
Minolta congratulates Captain Mark Messier and the rest of the 1994 Stanley Cup champion New York Rangers.
We've got that all-star, all-planet MVP thing down.
Interviews, groovy shoes, worldwide renown.
Now we want to be world champions.
We're not giving up.
That's why Dream Team 2's together.
That's why we're on the cup.
Score one at McDonald's.
When you supersize,
Just 39 cents more.
For more drink.
And more fries.
supersize any extra value meal and collect the Dream Team 2 today.
Then look out, world. We're hungry to play.
What you want is what you get at McDonald's today.
Heading to the fifth inning here at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. Yankees lead it 4-2 on what could be the last day of baseball, and no man to tell us whether it is the last day of baseball for a while better than Donald Fear. Donald, I guess I wish you were with Mr. Ravage somewhere in a room here in New York, but you're not. Have you spoken with him today?
Just at the Today Show this morning. I haven't spoken to him otherwise. There are no talks planned or scheduled as of this point.
Is there anything that was said today between the two of you that increases your frustration or enhances your hope in any way?
The only thing that happened today, there's been a lot of press speculation that has never been followed at the bargaining table, that the owners would consider trading arbitration for free agency in some form, and that might provide the basis for breakthrough. But Dick made it absolutely clear he wasn't even interested in discussing that. So slowly but surely, as we get down to tonight's games, Dick Ravitch is shutting all of the doors, and it seems to me this is where he wanted to be from the beginning. It's too bad.
George Steinbrenner told me moments ago that he sees the owners getting directly involved in the negotiating process in the very near future. Is that something you would welcome, some fresh blood?
Well, we have said for a long time that the particular negotiating team they've had, we didn't think was likely to produce an agreement. Obviously, we would negotiate with them, so that would be welcome, but we can't insist on it, and we're not insisting on it. But it has been rather bizarre. Here you negotiate in an industry that you say has problems with tremendous revenues, and no one on your negotiating team or that you permit into the room has ever worked for a baseball team.
Is it boiled down to only salary cap? Is that the principal issue or the only issue? Are there ancillary things involved?
We essentially haven't agreed on anything. However, I think it's fair to say that it's difficult to see agreements on other issues until somehow the salary cap issue is resolved.
Ed Sprague struck out, and it's now 2 balls and a strike to Pat Borders.
We hear this, Don, as basically, some of the propaganda that's out and some of the rhetoric that you hear from ownership side, and I am partisan to players, that's obvious in my statement, but is it basically just big markets against small markets, and the owners are trained to take the players' money to split among themselves? Is it that simple?
Almost. Essentially what you have is the large and small market owners couldn't agree on what to do. They couldn't agree to redefine their revenue sharing rules so that things would work more equitably given changing revenue streams. So they had to find some other device. That device was a salary cap. The problem is that the party that they agreed would pay the bill would rather not.
Now, Donald, everyone wants to know, okay, how long is it going to take? And my thinking on this is that basically the economics of baseball is going to have to be rewritten. Whatever compromise is reached, if it's not the salary cap, it's going to be some sort of a combination of things that's going to take a long time to work out. Am I wrong?
Well, anything which involves substantial rewriting of the arrangements, even if those arrangements were predominantly owner-to-owner arrangements, certainly would take some significant amount of time, I would think.
So is it your opinion that we're going to miss baseball for a significant amount of time?
Well, I think if there was a desire to try and put an agreement together quickly on the owner's side, that you could do it without undue delay, but with each passing hour, you know, even a relatively small number of hours is going to take you past the strike deadline. But as of this point, no reason to think about it.
All right, let me interrupt you for a moment. One of your players is down there in a lot of pain, and that's Mike Stanley, a very important Yankee.
You can see how Mike's trying to protect his hand behind the glove. It's something they worked with him on last year because he got beat up so badly, and as soon as he goes down for the pitch, the right hand's exposed, which is normal, and he took a bad shot near the back of the hand, fingers, and Gene Monahan's out.
And there's nothing more frightening, is there, Tony, for a baseball player to have a hand injury?
That's how you make your living, whether it's defense or swinging a bat. And then...
Tony, as you well know, one of the things that a lot of people forget sometimes is how fragile any athletic career, but certainly a baseball career, is. It can be gone through a freak accident or part of the normal play of the game at any moment. Hopefully this will be back shortly.
Well, the average lifespan, you know, when we talk dollar figures, which seems to be the focus from some of the fans' viewpoint, that some of these people are making too much. When you figure the specialized skills they have, the shortness of their careers and an injury front. You know, an example I always think of is Mark Fidrich. I mean, Mark Fidrich made so much money for the Tigers and for baseball. They were pitching him out of turn on Monday Night Baseball, prime time, and he signed a 3-year contract and made so much money and never really got the compensation that he did. Now, he did sign him, his agent signed him for him, but there's a great example of a guy that never got paid what he was truly worth in the market.
Well, Tony, obviously Gene Monahan doesn't like what he sees on the hand of Mike Stanley, so Mike's going to be taken for x-rays either here at the stadium or a nearby hospital. And you saw Matt Noakes head to the clubhouse to get his equipment, and he has reappeared in the dugout. A very, very anxious moment for the Yankees.
Split fingers and broken thumbs and our fingers are really kind of unusual these days for catchers. Years ago, when they had the two-handed catching gloves, you saw a lot of people with gnarled hands in the catcher's position. That really got Mike, who's having an exceptional year again. Everybody said, let's see Mike Stanley repeat what he did last year. Well, Mike has, in spite of an injury, and he's been a very valuable player to this organization.
And just to conclude, they've announced that Jim Leyritz is going to replace Mike Stanley, and we hope, obviously, the news is good and that we can get it to you quickly. Let's get back to the news that you can offer us. I think people are a little bit confused by this because it is so complicated and it is so deep. Well, what's the simplest way that you can explain to someone, while being fair, why we are where we are today?
The baseball has 3 traditional revenue streams: gates, plus, you know, concessions and parking and things that go with that, national TV, and local TV and Superstation. The gate is shared a little bit in the American League, much less in the National League. The local TV essentially isn't shared at all. National TV is shared equally. What's happened is that as national TV has dropped as an absolute percentage and perhaps absolutely in terms of revenue, and local TV has gone up, the smaller markets who only share in the national TV say, we're getting squeezed. Nobody ever thought this would happen. Let's rewrite our internal owner-to-owner revenue sharing rules to take into account what this is. The big market club said, well, that's nice, but we'd rather not do that. We like the revenue sharing rules. So they met for 18 months to try and come up with an agreement, and the only agreement they could come up with is if the players took a salary cap that substantially reduced the players' share, then the small markets could have more money and the large markets wouldn't have to pay for it.
Well, not saying that you agree with revenue sharing or a salary cap.
We do agree with revenue sharing.
Okay. Is that simply to preserve the small market versus large market? Are you of the agreement that a market like Montreal needs help to compete with a New York in the long run, or not?
I think our basic view is that properly managed and with good stadium leases and with some changes in the revenue sharing streams, people ought to be making just about everywhere. However, it does seem to us that the owner's internal revenue sharing rule could easily be changed and adapted in a way so that they would reflect the changing revenue streams and you wouldn't have the squeeze that the fall off of national TV is producing.
How are you personally handling the pressure of this, getting up at 5 a.m. to be on the Today Show, being with us, all the interviews?
Well, no, this is the most pressure there is right here and now.
Oh, right. How are you handling it seriously? I mean, fatigue-wise, and give me a sense of that.
Well, you know, there's a lot of people around the office. Gene Orza, Lauren Rich, Doyle Pryor, Mike Weiner. A lot of people are around.
Don't forget the old shortstop. Don't forget the old shortstop.
Mr. Belanger and Mr. Bernazard, too. And we trade off responsibilities and go back and forth and make an overt effort that people don't get overtired. But in a way, there really isn't very much pressure right now because the owners have made it so clear that we don't have any choices. There's not much to think about.
Don, I guess I would ask you this then. I'm presuming that it's almost an absolute that at midnight tonight there's going to be a work stoppage. Am I accurate in that?
Unless something changes pretty dramatically, yes.
Do the ground rules change when there's a strike? For instance, if, and maybe I'm reading something, if you think that this has been orchestrated over a number of years on the part of ownership, that they have not negotiated in good faith, do the ground rules change where the players now have some recourse legally, say with the National Labor Relations Board, Department of Labor, so that the owners, if in fact they have been, can found culpable of not really following the procedures in collective bargaining?
If we were to conclude after a review, and we haven't attempted to make this sort of a legal review, that there were possible actions that could be filed, whether it's with respect to the pension plan contribution that will be followed up, or otherwise, certainly we would do that. But I think the essence is that once a strike begins, things change, at least in this respect. You know, players are out. Money begins to be lost. There's no telling what that will do with attitudes. Players are absolutely persuaded that if it happens, it's very likely to be a long one. And it may make it more difficult to reach a settlement. We'll have to see.
Is there a strike fund? Is there some sort of recourse for a young player, perhaps, who isn't making $1.2 million that he can get some relief during the strike?
Yeah, the players have been saving licensing revenue over the last several years, and that's available distribution to them. They've also been saving their own money, and younger players that may have come up this year have been earning money this year through the licensing program that's there.
2 balls and a strike with 2 outs here. The batter is Dick Schofield for the Toronto Blue Jays. Yankees in front by the score of 4-2. Al Troutwig with Tony Kubek and the head of the Players Association, Donald Fehr.
Dick Ravitch has said repeatedly in public that the Players Association has presented no proposal that would solve what they consider the economic distress of the baseball industry. Do the players have something that they can even get the owners to look at this point, or has it just been, hey, take it or leave it? Would you stand for status quo?
Here's the circumstance. What typically happens in these negotiations is that the owners identify a problem, then they identify a solution, and any other possible solutions to the problem they identify are not considered because after all, they've thought of everything ahead of time and they've come to a conclusion. They negotiated with each other for 1.5 years and came to this conclusion. It took until last Thursday for Ravitch to say, we understand you have some revenue sharing plans that you think might be helpful here. We'll agree to look at them. Till last Thursday. Before that, he didn't even want to look at them. And there are some other suggestions we might have if they're seriously interested in our talking to them about them. But if the single most important element to them is they have to have total cost control and they have to have absolute certainty and they want to destroy a free market, we don't know how to get there from here.
Is it distressing to the players and the association that owners come out one time and say 19 or 20 teams in the industry are losing money, then they go down to 14, and then you have financial magazines who say they've studied it and say there might be 4 or 5, and is that part of the distrust, including the 3 years of collusion that exists? And how vital is that to the negotiations, this distrust?
It's pretty significant because it suggests a willingness, at least on behalf of the owners, negotiators, to try and suggest things that they really don't want to back up. And let me tell you what I mean. It was Dick Ravitch who talked about 19 clubs losing money. Nobody else talked about that. It was Dick Ravitch. Pretty soon some reporters said, well, there only must be 9 making money, and no matter what you do, you come up with a number of very large market, highly successful teams that have to be losing money if he's right. That's why I told reporters that while we couldn't tell them what they were, people would laugh if they saw the list. And indeed, when the list came out, they did laugh. So the question is, why is he making the suggestion? It's a play to public sympathy. Why don't they let the public look at the books? Because it won't bear out their claims.
Donald, it's obvious that you and Richard have established this contentious relationship. You're professionals at what you do, and so it's obvious in a labor dispute like this to see that. How do you feel about him personally, and does it affect the negotiating process at all?
What I feel about him personally, or he feels about me, people should understand, does not affect the negotiating process. The positions he takes because they're in the interest of his clients, or he believes they are, and they want him to. Positions the Players Association takes are the ones that players believe to be in their interest.
The numbers that the players would like to see more of, have you not either hired or gotten the services of someone who's familiar with economy and economics that has helped you out? I'll tell you what, hold that thought. Melito Perez steps on first to end the inning. He preserves his lead as we go to the bottom of the 5th on MSG. Don Mattingly and his Yankees, they're up 4-2.
almost over, and you know what that means. It's time to visit your Tri-State Quality Ford dealer, because now is the best time of the year to get great deals on America's bestsellers.
Now is the best time to get a great deal on a new Ford Escort, the best-selling small car in America. Just choose between an Escort 3-door, 4-door, 5-door, or wagon, and you'll pay only $11,095.
Don't let time run out on your opportunity for savings. See your Ford dealer and see for yourself.
With the help of financing from NatWest Bank, we're taking these buildings and transforming them into places that people are going to be able to live in. NatWest has really led the way in reinvesting in these neighborhoods.
It makes sense for NatWest because these are our communities. Businesses can develop. A life comes back to these neighborhoods.
And that's when you realize that you're not just renovating buildings, you really are rebuilding a community.
Woodstock 94, over 30 major acts that define rock and roll. Nobody Beats the Wiz is the official place to buy your Woodstock 94 tickets, and we'll even sell you them in pairs. And special bus packages for just $25 extra. We'll send you to and from Saugerties. Don't be shut out of the biggest musical event in history. Pick up your tickets to Woodstock 94 at Nobody Beats the Wiz, where rock and roll is.
At the Discovery Channel, we go to extraordinary lengths to tell extraordinary stories. So if we see it, you see it. The Discovery Channel. Explore your world.
We're heading to the bottom of the fifth inning. Pat Kelly's about to lead it off against Pat Henkin. The Yankees are up 4-2, courtesy of Danny Tartable's 3-run home run. Donald Fear of the Players Association is with us. Al Troutwig with Tony Kubek. Dwayne Statz back in the next half inning as we await an updated word on the condition of Mike Stanley's right hand. I left it off with you, and I just wanted to take it in a different direction for a moment, Donald. As far as the game is concerned, are you a lover of the game? Are you a fan? Do you like hot dogs and sitting with your family on a nice day? And how strong of a fan would you say you are?
I don't know that I can measure it. All I can tell you is that it grows in appreciation year after year, even watching it close up 17 years in a row. What's hard is that it's very difficult to develop a rooting interest when you know too many of the players individually and you have this kind of a position. So I enjoy going to games with the kids because they root, so I root for whoever they want to win. Makes life easier.
Well, Tony has pulled this memo out of his briefcase, and he's dying to get to this.
No, it's July 27th, 1994 for immediate release, and the title of it is Major League Baseball Office of the Commissioner. Well, first of all, if there were a commissioner, and I know, as some have said, you know, they're hired by those, we know that. Would a commissioner who would have in the best interests of the game clause still somewhat viable, would it help in this situation? I mean, it depends on the person how strong it is, I know that, but you know the persuasion would be on ownership side because they hire them.
The answer is that I think that we all have to understand that commissioners work for the owners, they're paid by the owners and hired by them, but what they can serve is as a focal point for media attention or fan or congressional or whatever it is, and they can attempt to rally a consensus if there isn't one there. And so there are roles that they can serve. But, you know, the indication that they still put out news releases under the title of the Office of the Commissioner, when there hasn't been a commissioner for 2 years, gives you an indication of how screwed up things are over there.
Beneath the title of this news release, it says the union wants just one more thing, more. It's more salary opportunity, more playoff money, more termination pay, more minimum salary, more for minor league salary. Does the association want more? Out of proportion to what the owners are saying.
You see, it's interesting. They talk about salaries. The owner's income in 1984 was less than $600 million. In 1989 was about $1.25 billion. In 1993 was about $1.9 billion. And it's the players entirely that are producing all that income. So it's not a suggestion that there isn't a tremendous amount of money. Secondly, we believe our proposals basically tinker around the edges. We do suggest that we think it'd be a good idea to spend more money in things like the World Series pool and in minor league salaries and in minimums. But we understand that if a club spends more money on minor league salaries or the minimum salary, they don't have that money to spend on more veteran players. It's not going to be a significant or measurable net additional cost, and the owners know that. That's why they don't attempt to put any numbers to the suggestions.
Does the salary cap as proposed, 50% of the $1 billion revenues guaranteed, does it make mathematical sense on their behalf? What they are saying?
On the owner's behalf, sure, because What it does is reduce players' salaries dramatically as a percentage, so they make a lot more money. And so from their standpoint, it does. I think what you got to understand, though, is that it's another indication that the glib phrase 50-50 doesn't really indicate what it means. First of all, they didn't say the players currently get 58. Secondly, they didn't say that the players' 50 includes a lot of things that none of us would consider going to players, like unemployment insurance premiums, or things that the players already have. The owners won't want to count against the player's salary 50% of the licensing money the players earn quite apart from the owners. It's like getting a part-time job and having your full-time employer reduce your salary.
So tell me one thing, Donald. Tomorrow, Richard Ravitch walks in. Tony, yes, what?
The memo gets a little personal. I was just showing you what it says on the back regarding
Don
Mr.
Fear
Fear.
says he's not worried about our fans going elsewhere. Maybe he's not worried, but we are. We're competing with basketball, football, and lots of other forms of entertainment. We shouldn't take fans for granted. Did you say you're not worried about our fans going elsewhere?
Of course not. I never said that anywhere. What I said is that we ought to make every opportunity to attract and keep fans. It's having to shut down, if it comes to that, is a tragedy. And we hope when it's over, players are going to do everything they can to make sure the fans understand this is still a great game. It always was.
Okay, the shots
the cheap shot isn't worth responding to beyond that.
All right, so the shots go back and forth, and basically what the fans are concerned most about is getting this thing solved. I mean, is it as simple as if Richard Ravitch said to you, for example, all right, no more salary arbitration? Is it that simple to get this done, perhaps, or is it more than that?
Well, what I have said repeatedly about that is very basic, that if the owners are concerned about salary arbitration, what they ought to say is, we'd like to talk about salary arbitration. It's a problem.
Wade Boggs, it goes all the way to the warning track. Boggs is on his way to second, and he'll stand up there with a double. Sixth best hitter in the American League, continues to hit. It looks as though he might still be grimacing just a bit, Tony.
It's one of those times where you get to enjoy the beauty of a great future Hall of Famer, Don. And so often over the last couple of weeks, and maybe longer for some people like you, have been involved for a number of years, where you don't really have enough time to sit and admire the Wade Boggses, or the Don Mattingly's, or the stroke where he just shoots another one at a gap. He's done it for a dozen years.
Tony, it's interesting. There are only two things about baseball on the field that I don't really understand. I don't understand how anyone actually hits the ball, given the way it's thrown, and I can't quite understand how anyone throws it by these guys, given the way they hit. Other than that, I got it figured out.
You know, you got this game down to the essence of that pitcher-batter matchup, and that's what it's all about, pitch after pitch and game after game.
That's right.
So can you guess for us? Can you guess what possible scenario and how something could be sculpted out of this?
Well, you see, the owners have so systematically cut off any possibility of discussion, it's hard to say. What we've said is, if you're willing to talk, or if you want to talk about arbitration, then tell us it's arbitration. But Richard Ravitch says it's not arbitration. It's not anything except we have to have a salary cap because we have to have a salary cap. It's as if it has cosmic significance.
Donald, thank you very much for your time. All the best in your efforts. We're all rooting for you, and we're rooting for baseball, aren't we?
Yeah, well,
it's
we'll certainly do our best.
Okay. Thanks to Donald Fear, and we'll be back. Dwayne Stats will rejoin Tony Kubek. I'll see you on our expanded post-game coverage, 4-2 Yankees.
Hey, MCI customers, it sounds so easy to get big savings with all those MCI friends and family plans, but first you got to give out a list of names and numbers of your friends and family. Keep that list up to date. And after all that, anytime you call someone not on your list, you won't save anything at all. You may even have to pay up to $36 a year in fees. Why bother? Now, for a simple way to save from AT&T. With True USA Savings, spend $25 a month, subtract 20% off your AT&T bill. Guaranteed? To switch to AT&T, call 1-800-PIC-ATT. Get True USA Savings, then you're free to call anyone, anytime, anywhere in the U.S. and save 20%. No lists, no fees, no hoopla. We'll even switch you for free. All you got to do is call AT&T.
Your true
Action Park doesn't strap you down. Action Park lets you soar because you control the action. Bring your family and friends to Action Park and have a blast, splashing into coolness at the world's largest water park. just minutes away in nearby Vernon, New Jersey.
For a teammate you can always count on. For a teammate who always comes through in the clutch. Bank on the Dime Savings Bank of New York. Dime, the bank New York sports fans call their own.
The bank you can call your own.
Rejoined by Dwayne Statz. Al Trotway going to prepare for his post-game report. I'm sure there'll be more on this, and don't know if there'll be any new developments. Paul Molitor leads off the sixth, and that'll be Joe Carter and John Olerud. Danny Tartable's 3-run home run. That was the Yankees' 4-run third. 3-run home run by Tartable gave the Yankees that 4-2 lead. And we hope you fans, and we've tried to focus on the game, and sometimes this very important, we think, overriding issue, the work stoppages due for tonight, which seems almost absolute. And we hope those of you who are casual fans, we beg your indulgence if we left the game a little bit, but we think it's of import that we did try and fill you in and fill ourselves in as to what's going on. So Molitor with a line out, a ground out, and now a base hit to center field.
Now this one just out of the reach of Mike Gallego and made a big turn at first base, but held on for the single.
Paul Molitor's had some run at his age. He now has 20 stolen bases. He is 20 for 20 this season. Don't know if this is a steal situation with Carter up and the Blue Jays down by 2, but that's a pretty good combination. You expect the Alomars and Devon White to be leading ball clubs, and Joe Carter at the plate. He is 11 for 11 this season also. It is hooked. It'll go way foul.
And Molitor is...
Here he comes. He thought the wind was going to curl it back. What breeze there is, it's 20 rolls back.
Molitor's second in the league in total hits now with 155. Well, I don't know if I don't know. I thought the 2 innings with Donald Fear were quite interesting, Tony, to try to update this labor situation. Out of everything I heard, and apparently Al had spoken with George Steinbrenner, maybe the most encouraging thing out of all that is that the possibility, at least Mr. Steinbrenner believes, that there will be some direct ownership involvement shortly.
You wonder if that's too little too late, though, and I respect Mr. Steinbrenner saying that he gets him on a breaking ball, maybe a fork ball, that Joe Carter goes after a very bad pitch. 1 out, 1 on here in the 6th.
Well, after a strike occurs, it's going to be much more difficult then, because
procedure changes.
You have essentially 8 clubs that could prevent a resumption of play, even though a majority, and an overwhelming majority at that, might want to resume play.
Well, I don't think there's any question that perhaps half or maybe more than half the teams do not want revenue sharing. I mean, I don't think this franchise does, nor quite a few of the new franchises, but they will take revenue sharing, again, if it is tied to a salary cap. And that was the big discussion in Kohler, Wisconsin months ago, where they were almost living in 2 different buildings at each other's throats, the various groups of ownership, until they came up with this compromise. They voted in unanimity, I don't know if it was unanimous, 28-0, to say, let's go get it and do this. And it's hard, once you abdicate, I think, your individual responsibility to intervene, as each club apparently has. How do you do it? You've given you become a group that says we're going to do this as a group, and it's going to get tougher now after the strike. 2 balls, no strikes to Olerud, 1 down, and Molitor at first. Yankees leading it 4-2. Too high, 3-0 to Big John. He may have the go-ahead with the short porch and right, and Huff up next. Olerud, who had that brilliant first 4 months last year, challenged the 400 mark a little bit longer than even Paul O'Neill did this year. Ball 4, the Blue Jays have 2 on. Still have not gotten a report on Mike Stanley, the foul he took off his right hand. Certainly going to x-ray it. 1 out, 2 on for Mike Huff. He has walked, scored a run in the second, and also grounded to third.
And we get into a part of the Blue Jay order that has concerned the Blue Jays for most of the year. You know, they're coming in, they're 7th in the league in hitting and 10th in the league in runs scored.
This slider misses low.
Well, it's been this spot on down that has concerned them, although the number 8 man, Ed Sprague, has both runs batted in for the Blue Jays in this game. That has been more the exception than the rule.
See, I think the ownership has, in some ways, been involved behind the scenes. You know, I don't know if it's coincidental. Mr. Steinbrenner made the trip to Milwaukee and then to Minnesota, where he sat with Bud Selig, interim commissioner, and Mr. Polad, the owner of the Twins. So I think there's got to be some kind of lobbying and jockeying behind the scenes, you know, with the revenue that is to be lost on both sides. Whether or not that kind of lobbying behind the scenes does any good anymore after the voting process has been changed, I'm not certain.
Yeah. And it's not as if this, the idea of the changed voting procedure and making it more difficult to resume play has been lost on the players. They've known this and been well aware of that for a long time. So
3 balls, 1 strike, as Melito, after walking Olerud on 4 pitches, having control problems with Mike Huff.
If there was some thought on the owner's side that perhaps the players being aware of the new voting procedure would somehow prevent them and lessen their resolve, that has not been the fact at all. The players fully aware of that and ready to make their stand.
Bernie's got a long run. It will hit the gap. Huff will drive in Molitor. Olerud chugging for third. Huff with a double RBI. Yankees 4, Blue Jays 3. There's just 1 out. So Perez, getting behind in the count, walking Olerud, will get a trip from Billy Connors.
So the Yankee lead trimmed to 1 on this 3-1 pitch. Perez behind Huff, and he takes it out of the reach of Bernie Williams, bit toward right center field. Well, the Blue Jays have received in this game what they have been missing for a good part of the year, and that is production from the lower end of the batting order.
I'll make a deal with you right now. Let's see if you agree. You know, the twice World Championship Toronto Blue Jays, Kamenicki warming up for the Yankees. Back-to-back World Championship, the Yankees with a big lead in the East. All these beautiful players out here. Why don't we stick with the game, Pro? What do you think? As difficult as it is, and as you know, as muddled as our thoughts can be in this thing, whether we take sides or not. First pitch jumped on by Darnell Coles, who had struck out and grounded out. This should get the tying run home. Polonia will go to third as Olerud scores run number 4. The ball will go into the dugout, and they're going to score him, too. That's going to break the tie. They're going to send Mike Huff home as the ball curled into the dugout. An error will be charged, and the Blue Jays take a 5-4 lead on a sac fly to left. Darnell Coles jumping on the first pitch. Louis' throw gets away from the people at third and goes into the dugout to score Huff all the way from second.
Well, you talk about a throw getting away. Now watch Louis, the sacrifice fly, scores the tying run, and then this ball slipped away from Luis Polonia, way back up the third base side, back of the bag toward the left field line and into the dugout.
I was looking for Melito Perez to see where he was backing up. You know, what you do on a play like this, there's no chance for a play for Polonia at home plate, so you've got to really be between home plate and third base, backing up third base where the throw is going to go. And I didn't know where Perez was. He might have been a little bit late and didn't really adjust to the ball curling into the dugout. Regardless, 5-4 Toronto. The bases are cleared now with 2 outs, and Sprague, who tripled home 2 runs in the second up. Off the end of the bat toward left center field for Luis Polonia. 2-0 pitch. Perez getting behind again. Louis corrals it, retiring Sprague, but the Blue Jays come up with 3 to take a 5-4 lead as we go to the bottom of the 6th.
Everybody limbo! Tonight's winner limbo's home with Bud Light.
Oh, really?
Lower.
Oh, my. For the great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light.
Not low enough.
Any faucet can turn on water. Kohler faucets give it shape. Change the flow. Once you turn on a Kohler faucet, you'll never want plain water again. The full line of Kohler products are available at these locations.
Nothing like getting into a good bestseller. And your Ford dealer has 5 of the 10 bestsellers in America. Not surprising. They wrote the book on value.
The minivan of the future is here today with the new Ford Windstar. Now you can save on a Windstar loaded with all this.
This is a real page-turner.
Test drive a new Windstar today, and it will change the way you look at minivans.
Your Ford dealers had 5 of the 10 bestsellers in America for 6 straight years. See your Ford dealer and see for yourself.
The New York State Lotto jackpot is now $10 million. Thank you.
New York Lotto. Hey, you never know.
New York Yankees baseball is brought to you in part by Kohler, America's leading manufacturer of stylish, intelligently designed faucets and fixtures for your bathroom and kitchen. The bold look of Kohler, enhancing the way you live. Heading to the bottom of the 6th, where the man stepping in, Danny Tartabull, with a 3-run home run, capping off a 4-run third. Another one of those big innings for the Yankees. Gave the Yankees a lead, but did not last through the top of the 6th. The Blue Jays came up on 3 runs and a couple of base hits, a walk, and an error on Polonia. Tartabull's also lined to left field. 1 strike from Pat Henkin. Make it 1-1.
Boy, from the Yankee perspective, I'm sure they hated to see that 2-run lead get away with Henkin on the mound, because once you grab a lead on him, good idea to protect that and hold it. He's tough.
Cut fastball right on the outside corner, says Matt Winans, the home plate umpire. Danny in the hole, 1 ball, 2 strikes. New second baseman, Alomar, who's had some back problems, leaves the game for Domingo Cedeno. Tartabull goes down on strikes.
He got ahead of Tartabull, and just a little movement away, late movement on that pitch, and Tartabull's out on strikes for the 110th time this year.
Is that right? 3rd strikeout in the ball game? Is that what you got? 4? Did Kelly go down in the 5th?
Kelly, Stanley,
yeah,
and
I missed Kelly's strikeout.
Polonia.
Matty Lee hooks this way foul to the camera well. A breaking ball way inside. Henkin has completed 6 ball games. He's got a ways to go against a tough, very disciplined team, the Yankees, who force you to throw a lot of pitches. Fly ball to center field. Mike Humph, 8 or 10 strides back. So there are 2 outs. 2 down in the bottom of the 6th for Jim Laritz, who replaced Mike Stanley in the 5th after Mike was hit on the bare hand, the throwing hand on a foul ball. We are seeing if we can get a report, have none yet, as to how he is doing. Mike had flied out and struck out in his 2 at-bats in the 2nd and 4th. Jim Laritz, whose numbers, I don't say they're mind-boggling, but when you got a guy who's got 66 base hits and 58 runs batted in and 17 home runs, they might be mind-boggling. He's all but duplicating what he did last year, perhaps a little bit better.
Yeah, his run production per at-bat's actually better.
247 official at-bats coming in today. Swings through a hard fastball. 1 ball, 1 strike to Laritz. Breaking ball too high. In each of the scoring innings, there was at least 1 walk involved. Huff got a walk and scored in the 2nd. Olerud walked in the 6th. And inning, the Blue Jays got 3. In front of Danny Tartabull's 3-run home run. O'Neill had walked. Henkin tried to pitch around him. Laritz is down with a walk. With Bernie Williams stepping in with 2 down here in the bottom of the 6th.
Well, we've seen from Henkin on occasion today what makes him so effective. He utilizing that cut fastball, a little sailor, a lot of movement up. And he got Tartabull with that pitch.
Bernie's hit to short, then he's flied to center. The Blue Jays scheduled in for a 4-game series. Fastball strike on the outside corner to Williams. Curveball strike. Boy, these kids got good stuff. He can really spin a baseball. Nothing in 2 to Bernie Williams.
Here's the pitch to get ahead. You know, with that pitch, that breaking ball, that's something he didn't throw a lot in '92. And Galen Cisco encouraged him to use that pitch more, and he broke out in '93 and won 19 games.
He's got Bernie Williams deep in the hole. This fastball rides high. 1 ball, 2 strikes. 2 outs. Larrett's on first. And the Yankees trailing by a run. Olerud holding Larrett's on first base. Breaking ball up the middle. Looked like it got a little bit of Pat Henkin's hand. So breaking ball for a base hit. So Bernie now 1 for 3. 2 outs, 2 on for Mike Gallego.
There's that 1-2 delivery. Bernie on top of that pitch as it started to break downward, and he got it right back over the mound and back through the middle.
I think it was interesting in that super slow-mo when you compare the 2 curveballs we've shown. The one curveball, you could not see the rotation even on super slow-mo. That one, you could see the flutter. And because he didn't have the tighter spin, you saw the ball hang up in the strike zone. Didn't have the bite to it. Mike, nothing for 2. Fastball too high from Henkin. Bernie Williams has had some runs. Several months, at least 2.5. Hitting about .330. Driving in runs. There have been times this year he's hit like a number 3 hitter. This breaking ball misses. 2 balls, no strikes to Mike Gallego. A strike that Gallego did not like. Thought it should have been 3 balls, no strikes.
Take a look from our center field angle. You can see Borders trying to bring that pitch back a little bit. Got the call.
2-1 to Mike Gallego, hitting in the 7th spot for Buck Showalter. This little slider stays up too high. 3-1. Cito Gaston, back-to-back World Championship. Has he ever had a losing year? No. In fact, this Blue Jays team has been at 500 or better 12 consecutive years. And we've got a season right now where it's going to be tough to make it, and they won't make it at all if the season comes to a cessation. They are loaded up as Gallego walks for Pat Kelly. Danny Cox, he was injured earlier. 2 of the things that hurt this ball club. First of all, Dwayne Ward didn't pitch in a regular game this year, had surgery. He's done for the year, of course. And Danny Cox, the setup man, was hurt early. Although Darren Hall, a 30-year-old rookie, has done a good job closing out ball games for him now. But they're not to that point, so Galen
Cisco's on his way to the mound. A couple of walks and a base hit in between. There have been times when Henkin has battled his control a bit. But overall, he's been such a solid pitcher for the Blue Jays. He doesn't give you many opportunities. The Yankees have one here with 2 outs in the 6th.
Pat Kelly's scheduled. There's your score. Danny Tartable has a 3-run home run, and then the Blue Jays in the 6th. Molitor started with a single. Carter strikes out. Olerud walks. Huff a double. 1 run scored. Cole sac fly to left, drove in Olerud, and then Huff on the throw that went into the dugout coming from Poloni's direction scored 2 runs to make it 5-4. Pat Kelly with 1 out in the 3rd, bunted and beat it out, and that helped lead to Tartable's 3-run home run. 2 outs with the bases loaded. Henkin falls down. He looked like he caught his cleats, and almost, I don't know if it came out looking like a fastball. Laritz is at third. He walked with 2 outs. Bernie singled to center, and then Gallego just walked. How do you throw that pitch for a strike? He was almost on his way down to his knees when he released that ball. Curveball and a beauty. Took a little bit off it. Maybe that's the tip that Galen Cisco gave him. Back off a little bit. Good report, Dwayne, on Mike Stanley.
Negative on the x-rays of Mike Stanley's right hand. The announcement just made by Rob Butcher, the Yankees PR director.
0-2 from Pat Henkin to Pat Kelly. Henkin apparently not liking the pitch selection put down by Pat Borders. Fastball check swing fouled off. Wow, somebody made a pretty good play right there. That ball shot in the stand like a bullet. Popped up one hand and got it. Still no balls, 2 strikes, and 2 outs. Aside from his bunt single, run scored. Pat struck out in the 5th. Yankees trying to mount a 2-out rally, trailing by 1 here in the bottom of the 6th. Curveball too high, 1-2. With the bases drunk, 7 runs batted in for Pat. Curveball, it's going to flare in off the 5th. Laritz scores. Bernie scores. Yankees with a 6-5 lead here in the 6th. A clutch 2-out base hit and a rally after 2 outs with Pat Kelly driving in 2. Looked like a hanging curveball.
Henkin had made a couple very good pitches. One very tight breaking ball to Pat Kelly. He hangs this one. Our Perry Ellis look as Pat Kelly comes through on a hanging breaking ball. Singles into center.
Pat protecting. He'd seen a series of breaking balls protecting the outer half, and the ball hung in. He still got the handle on it. May have broken his bat. Drives in 2 for the Yankee lead. Luis Polonia struck out. Single, run scored, ground out. Off Henkin's hand, which deflects it to Schofield. He steps on the bag for the force on Kelly. It might have gone through if not for Henkin's bare hand deflecting it. Yankees come up with a couple in the bottom of the 6th. They lead it 6-5.
So Brett congratulates Captain Mark Messier and the rest of the 1994 Stanley Cup champion New York Rangers.
There is only one total body fitness machine that gives you a complete aerobic workout while stretching and toning all large muscles at the same time. This is it. There is only one fitness machine that is whisper quiet and totally non-impact. This is it. There is only one fitness machine recommended by fitness expert Covert Bailey to burn fat, lose weight, and keep it off. This is it. If you're looking for the best time to take action, get off the diet merry-go-round, lose weight, and keep it off. This is it.
Call now for your free video and brochure.
Hey fans, how about this special offer from Yankees Magazine? Every month you get player features, statistics, great color action photos, in-depth minor league reports, and much more. Subscribe now and receive 12 big issues at the special introductory price of just $14.97. Order by credit card. Just call 1-800-9-YANKS-9 or just send a check or money order for $14.97 to this address.
The Bud Light Concert Series presents the Blues Music Festival 94, featuring B.B. King, Little Pete, Dr. John, and a special tribute to Muddy Waters, coming up live at the Paramount Thursday, the 18th of August, 7:30. Tickets on sale at the Garden Box office and all Ticketmaster locations. Here at Yankee Stadium, we head into the 7th with the Yankees back with 2 more runs in the bottom of the 6th, leading 6-5. Dick Schofield, Pat Borders, then Dick Schofield, and Domingo Cedeno, the 3 hitters in the inning. Borders taking a strike. He is nothing out of 2, a couple of ground balls. Yankees 6 runs, 7 hits. Toronto 5 runs, 5 hits.
I wonder if Henkin's done. I'm looking down at the Blue Jays bullpen. There's somebody really popping the ball down there, and I don't think he's getting work in between starts. Looks like he's getting ready to come in, doesn't he? Danny Cox?
Yep, he was up when the Yankees put the 2 runs on the board in the 6th. Boy, that ball just ran out of sight on Pat Borders. 4th strikeout for Perez. The first out of the 7th. Here's the 0-2 pitch.
One of the things that's really prevented Pat Borders from becoming a real good productive hitter. He has his streaks, and you might remember him in the playoffs a couple of years ago in the World Series, but it's that he doesn't take a walk. He swings at a lot of pitches like that.
Now the top of the order, Dick Schofield. Schofield's been on twice with a single and a base on balls. Takes the pitch for a ball. Yankees 4 runs in the 3rd and 2 runs in the 6th. They've come back twice today against Pat Hentgen. 2 balls and nothing to count. Hentgen through 6 innings has made 108 pitches. Melito approaching the 100 pitch mark now. The 2-0, and he throws a strike. 2-1.
Trying to get in some kind of rhythm. He had that control problem in the 6th. You don't always know. Sometimes it's the rhythm of the catcher that can upset a pitcher. And that's not that Jim Lehrer doesn't do a good job, but all of a sudden Stanley's got him in a little bit of a groove, and then he gets hurt and goes out in the 5th, and all of a sudden you have a little rough 6th. I'm not sure that's really related, but it could be.
Right.
It's a little different pitch selection. You got a rhythm going. It's so important. It's like a shortstop and second baseman working together. Boy, or a manager flashing signs of the proper time to third base coach. The catcher and the pitcher rhythm's important.
There is ball 4 off the plate end. So that's the 4th walk given up by Perez. Comes with 1 out in the 7th. Billy Connors is going to climb the dugout steps and head to the mound. As the Yankee bullpen starts to loosen.
While he's going out, got to give an old friend a little pop. You know, a guy who never shuts down his axe. Been doing it for 51 years. You see Max Patkin out here today?
Yeah, he's going to be in the
New Haven.
In the vicinity
He's
tomorrow,
performing
right?
in New Haven, Connecticut tomorrow night. Gave us a copy. I don't know if I shouldn't say us. He gave me a copy of the book. He'll get you one. If you,
yeah, that's right.
Gave you an autographed bubblegum card.
And I got his commemorative 50th anniversary season.
There you go.
Should we call this a baseball card? Bubblegum card.
I'll give you my copy of the book when I finish it. Crown Prince of Baseball. Stan Hockman, a good baseball writer from the Philadelphia area. One who collaborated with Max on it. So Max is in New Haven tomorrow. I hope you'll stop in. He's still funny as heck.
Now Domingo Cedeno bats for the first time in this game. The pitch is too low to him. 1 on, 1 out. We're in the 7th. There is a little better than 100 pitches now, and Bob Wickman is busy in the Yankee bullpen.
This guy's a pretty good player right here. Domingo Cedeno plays second, plays short.
Schofield with the lead, and Melito goes over there. Yankees leading by a run. It's a 6-5 ball game. They were down 2-0, scored 4 in the 3rd, then down 5-4 and scored 2 runs in the 6th inning. Cedeno takes one outside. 2 balls and no strikes. Domingo Cedeno out of the Dominican Republic.
Blue Jays tried to force feed a couple of kids, and boy, they had a great start from Carlos Delgado, who's a catcher. He's back catch now, but he had such a great start with a home run Finge early, and they sent him down and kept him down, and the young shortstop. Domingo Martinez, they thought he'd be ready this year. They keep getting good young prospects in this organization. Even though they've had that success for so many years, they have a great scouting staff.
Melito out of sorts here, missing on all 3 pitches to Cedeno, and he's behind 3-0. So just as quickly as he retired Pat Borders, he has lost it here to Schofield and Cedeno.
Wow.
And nowhere close for ball 4. Back-to-back walks, and now we'll be getting into the middle of the Toronto batting order with Molitor and Carter due. 2 men on with 1 out. That's Wickman in the Yankee bullpen, and here comes Buck Showalter. He's on his way to get Melito Perez, who will depart after 6 1/3 innings. With Molitor coming up here, and the Yankee lead standing at only 1 run. So that's going to be it for Cedeno. He will leave with 2 men on base and 1 out. 5 hits. So far, 5 runs, 2 men on base. So he still has a chance to pick up his 10th victory if Wickman can hold the Blue Jays here. This pitching change brought to you by the AT&T Business Advantage. Let it work for you.
The RCA Home Theater comes with a new optimum contrast screen for blacker blacks, brilliant whites, and a picture so clear and bright you'll feel like you're really there.
Hi, an eligible Snapple fan from Wisconsin writes, I take sudden glances at this girl while I drink bottles of Passion Supreme soda, but I can't find the nerve to talk to her. Can you please help? Kevin?
Hi, I'm Don. I don't know if you're seeing anyone right now, but perhaps soon I could get to be friends.
Dawn, grab him. Snapple, made from the best stuff on earth.
Having grown tired of making quilts and baking pies, Marge and Edna attempt to construct the world's first homemade particle accelerator.
Edna, I'm paralyzed by the fear that we've overlooked something. Possibly a dual plasmatron.
I am for.
Ah, what was that?
That was a thermionic emission.
Well, it's safe.
For answers to just about any question, check the special library and museum section in the 9X Yellow Pages. More information, more solutions, more stuff.